Welcome to Culture and Education. Today, we're hitting the highway to explore a novel that didn't just tell a story, it literally created a new kind of voice for an entire generation. We're talking about a book that captured the restless, searching soul of post-war America. Let's dive into Jack Kerouac's absolutely seminal 1957 novel, On the Road.
From the second this book dropped, people knew it was something else entirely. In a rave review for the New York Times, Gilbert Milstein didn't just say it was good. He called its publication a historic occasion. He saw that it wasn't just a novel. It was the authentic, powerful voice of a new generation that, until then, hadn't really been heard. The generation Kerouac himself called the Beat.
So, what was this generation even looking for?
Well, to get this book, you have to get the time.
We're in post-World War II America. On the surface, things are booming, right? Prosperity, suburbs, the whole white picket fence dream. But just beneath all that, there was this simmering anxiety, a real hunger for something more, for something authentic that you just couldn't find in a steady job or a nice house.
And that's where the term beat comes in. What's so fascinating is what Kerouac meant by it. You hear beat and you think beaten down, worn out, defeated. But for Kerouac, it was connected to the word beatitude, a state of being blessed. So for him, this wasn't about being disillusioned. No, it was a kind of spiritual search for beauty and grace, way out on the margins of society.
And this right here, this lays out the central battle of the whole book. On one side, you've got the classic American dream, stability, conformity, success. And on the other, the Beat ideal. They traded stability for pure experience, suburbia for the open road, and materialism for what they called kicks, raw, real moments. They weren't chasing money. They were chasing a feeling, this elusive thing they just called it. The story is deeply personal. Our narrator is Sal Paradise, who is basically Kerouac himself, a young writer just itching for an adventure. But the real engine of the story, the guy who lights the fuse, is Dean Moriarty. He's based on Kerouac's real-life friend, Neil Cassidy, and Dean is just a force of nature. He's this charismatic, reckless, super energetic guy who yanks Sal out of his quiet life and throws him onto the road. And so it begins. The road itself becomes more than just asphalt. It's practically a main character in the book. It's the ultimate symbol of freedom, of endless possibility. This is the physical chase for that beat ideal. And believe me, they weren't just wandering. They were chasing something with everything they had, all the way across the continent. The whole narrative, which can feel really wild and chaotic, is actually structured around 3 huge trips between 47 and 50. First, Sal dips his toes in the water and heads west alone. Then you get the legendary trip in 1949 with Dean. This is the absolute heart of the novel, and it all culminates in a final, frantic push south of the border into Mexico. So what did this life actually look like day to day? Well, it was a total whirlwind. Think non-stop, frantic driving, fueled by coffee and Benzedrine. It was all-night conversations about life, God, and everything in between. It was smoky jazz clubs, listening to bebop, which was like the literal soundtrack to their quest. And this wasn't a vacation. They were living on the edge. No money, hitchhiking, grabbing odd jobs, just trying to keep moving. And you can't talk about this book without talking about how Kerouac wrote it. His style perfectly channels this energy. He famously typed the whole thing out in just 3 weeks on a single 120-foot scroll of paper. He called it spontaneous prose, and it reads just like that, a breathless, nonstop rush of words, like a jazz saxophone solo that just won't quit. The style is the story. But, and this is so important, this quest for freedom wasn't some simple, happy-go-lucky adventure. The whole novel is stretched tight between these moments of pure ecstasy and this really dark, destructive undercurrent of pain and disillusionment. This quote from Sal just gets right to the heart of it. It captures the incredible hope that's fueling him. See, he's not just looking for a good time. He's on a kind of spiritual pilgrimage. He genuinely believes that somewhere out on that road, A moment of pure truth, what he calls the pearl, is just waiting for him. That pearl, that's what they call it. It's not a thing you can touch or hold. It's a feeling. It's that moment of perfect connection, of pure truth. And they find little flashes of it everywhere, in a killer jazz solo, in the beauty of the desert at sunrise, in a perfect moment of friendship. That's the treasure they're hunting for. But there was a very real dark side. This line, thrown right at Dean Moriarty, is brutal because it's true. It cuts right to the book's core criticism of itself. This obsessive chase for personal kicks and freedom, a lot of the time, it just looked like profound, staggering selfishness. And Kerouac is honest about this. This is not just a celebration of being free. We see Dean abandoning his wives, his kids again and again. Friendships are pushed to the breaking point and shattered. Their journey, for all its beauty, caused real damage to the people they cross paths with, and ultimately to themselves. And all of this, it all comes to a crashing finale in the last section of the book. The journey pushes into its final, most extreme frontier, Mexico. And this is where the whole dream finally shatters. When they first cross the border, it feels like they've finally made it. The ultimate freedom. They've left America and its rules behind. Everything's cheaper, the rules feel looser. They just dive headfirst into this world of mambo and tequila. For a moment, it really seems like they've found paradise. But then it all goes wrong. Sal gets horribly sick with dysentery, lost in a fever. And in his darkest moment, what does his hero Dean Moriarty do? He leaves him, abandons him in Mexico to get back to his own tangled life in the States. This quote from Sal is just, it's a gut punch. It's anger, it's betrayal, but it's also this sad, painful understanding. So the grand journey doesn't end with Sal finding the pearl, not at all. It ends with him sick, alone, and completely abandoned by the very person who was the symbol of the whole quest. The search for it doesn't lead to blessedness. It leads to this profound, heartbreaking disillusionment. If the quest was, in the end, a failure, why are we still talking about this book? Why has On the Road had such an unbelievably huge and lasting impact on, well, everything? For one thing, just look at this number. In 2001, the original manuscript, that single scroll of paper Kerouac typed on, sold for almost $2.5 million. That's not just a book anymore. That's a cultural relic, a physical piece of the legend itself. And its influence is just staggering. Bob Dylan said it changed his life. The Doors probably wouldn't have existed without it. You can draw a direct line from this book to writers like Hunter S. Thompson, to films like Easy Rider. The DNA of On the Road is woven into the very fabric of American counterculture. It basically invented the modern myth of the road trip. But really, beyond all the cool factor, the reason the book lasts is because its themes are completely universal. It's a story about that burning intensity of friendship when you're young. It's about that ache to find out who you are and where you fit in. And it's about that deep, fundamental human need to find a life with meaning, especially when the world is telling you to just fall in line. And that leaves us with a final question to think about. In our super-connected digital world, what does it even mean to be on the road today? What is our generation's quest for it? If you found this insightful, please subscribe to the Culture and Education channel. We've got a lot more deep dives into classic literature and big ideas coming your way.